In this lesson, we'll begin learning to work with the brush tool. Immediately below our heel brush and red eye menu here, we have the brush, pencil, color replacement and mixer brush tools. So let's learn to work with the brush tool. We have that selected now, and we'll create a new document. I'm just going to make it 512 and 512. Okay. Alt middle mouse scrolling to zoom in and out. You'll see that when we create new documents, as an aside, we automatically have a solid background layer there which is locked. You unlock that layer by double clicking it and giving it a name. It can be the default name. Click OK. You'll see that little padlock goes away now. So that's not like the padlock we apply ourselves, the lock that we apply ourselves, which can just be toggled on and off. That first default lock of the background layer can only be removed by double clicking it and committing to a name. Now, the brush tool paints whatever foreground color you have selected onto the canvas. Up on the options bar, we can see from left to right we have some default options for working with our brush. So these are some presets that we can use. It's worth playing around with them just to get the sense of them. But here we can choose between all of the different brushes that are loaded into Photoshop at this time. So this brush is in the shape of a leaf. And it has some scattering enabled and color variation, so you can see it's creating this nice foliage effect. Experiment with the brushes that you have in your version of Stencil. Some of these brushes obviously you probably do not have. I would have downloaded them from packages online, brush packs, or some of them are custom brushes that I created myself. So working with advanced features of brushes will be a later lesson. We'll have a whole section basically on brushes. But this is just the brush tool and the basic settings that come with that. So brushes generally have two basic settings. They have a size setting, which is the diameter of the brush. That can also be set by using the two square bracket keys beside the P key, just to the right of the P key on your keyboard. The left one will reduce the size of your brush and the right one will increase it. Or you can set it here like that. And hardness. So here we have a continuum between soft and hard, so choose how soft or how hard you want the brush to be. Multiply, darken, color burn. These are blend modes for the data that we're painting onto the layer, and basically it determines how we want it to interact with the pixels that are already there. So if I choose multiply, that's going to have a different effect than if I choose screen, etc. Opacity, 0 opacity means, or 1 opacity means there'll be very little actually being painted because it'll be so transparent. And then full opacity means it's completely opaque, and you should be able to see completely solid pixel data being painted onto the screen. So that's what that means. Okay, and then here we have the pressure for opacity, which is only really relevant if you're working with a Wacom tablet. We can also mess with the flow rate. So if I turn down the flow, I'm going to just erase everything that I have by filling it with white. So I've just hit Control A to select all. I'm going to use a fill here, and the fill is going to be a color fill of solid white. OK and OK. There. Now we have an uncluttered screen. So with a low flow setting, versus a medium flow setting versus a high flow setting, you can see that what this mainly affects here is almost the rate at which the color is dropped onto the canvas, and also the flow from the center out to the periphery. So the flow of our ink is what we're thinking of here in essence, or the flow of our paint from the brush or from the pen or whatever analogous real world item you want to think of artistically to the canvas. That's kind of what we're controlling here. So it's more of an artistic setting than anything else. And then here we have our airbrush setting, which allows us to have a build-up effect. And what that means is that I can click on one spot and it'll continually shoot this paint out, or this color onto the canvas, as if you were using a spray can of paint or something like that. So that's the airbrush. That's what that does. You can turn that on and off at will. So without it on by default, there is no build-up effect. It'll only continue to paint as you move. So if I hold still, there's nothing coming out. Okay. So those are all the basic settings for the brush tool. Next we'll take a look at the pencil tool.